Yo, 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 what is up? It is your boy Stephlyon, and you guys have requested me to watch Death of a Spaceman, so I'm going to be reacting to this, calling all the devs. I'm going to just give my opinions where I can, and yeah, let's get into it.
Now, Death of a Spaceman was first introduced back in 2013. We are going to get the update on where we're at now, where we're going
Oh, damn,
forward.
it was
And to do
introduced.
so,
It was introduced when this game was like launching. Okay, that's so it's a long time thing then.
we have two esteemed guests with us in no particular order. We got Richard Tyrer from the Core Gameplay Group. Hi, Richard.
Which one is Richard?
Hello, how's it going?
Harry, okay.
And this is Riss, right?
Chris.
That
I
is
don't know
right.
any of these people, man. Bro
the,
is...
the reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated, is what I was.
Oh! Bro, this is the CEO. Okay, I think I remember his face though. I think I see his face on some thumbnails. Okay, so he's the actual CEO of it. Damn, okay, bro, gotta get his aura up though, because his aura didn't hit me like, damn, he looks important. You gotta get your aura up, my guy.
Appropriate.
It's,
What he said here.
it's been a while since we've chatted. Death of a Spaceman as a primer. Let's introduce it to people. We haven't talked about it in a while. What is it?
The idea with Death of the Spaceman is to try to get some kind of meaningful consequence to dying in a game. So, like,
Okay, that's a good
games,
thing.
Play modern games anyway. You die, you respawn back, a few seconds before you die, and you keep on doing it again. So it doesn't really feel like there's much consequence to dying.
That's
A lot of
true,
times
nah. I must say, since I started like playing Star Citizen, when I die, there's not that much, like, yeah, I lose my stuff or my ship is stranded out, but there's not really that much consequence because I can get my ship back by just doing a claim. I know when in the future, when the game is like fully released, there's going to be a thing where it's going to cost me a little bit more, or I have to get insurance and pay for that kind of stuff. But right now it's like, I just get my ship back. Oh, I lost the gear on my body. I probably have 30, 40 sets of that same gear in my storage in like a city or something. So like, there's not really that much. It's like, oh, I died. Whoops. Let me restart the mission. Or if the mission isn't like gone from my bar, it's like, oh, let me just go back to the same spot again and I can reclaim all my things. So there's not really that much of a like problem when I die. I'm like, yeah, sure, I died. It's cool.
A game like, say, for instance, Demon Souls, all the years
Damn,
ago,
that's
and
old.
all the ones past it, there's real consequence. I mean, you die.
Yeah, you have to restart the whole level
you've got to
again.
fight back through all those enemies. You've
Yeah,
lost all the experience.
yeah.
You gain the souls in the game.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
the thing with Demon Souls, and it was one of the, it was one of the things I was playing. It reminded me of, consequently, when you finished the level or achieved something, you really felt, proud and happy doing yourself, which is definitely, I think one of the mechanics with
You
the
see,
next Demon.
I think that's a big part of gaming, though. I feel like being able to achieve something, especially after multiple tries, I feel like it's like it's a thing of achievement. It's just a feeling, that big feeling of, yes, I finally did it. I feel like that's a lot nicer than, oh, that was easy. I feel like when it's like, oh, damn, I died. Oh, damn, I died again. Oh, damn, I died again. But then when you finally do it, it's like, yes, I did it. And it's a lot nicer than just, oh, that was easy. No.
Both infuriating and rewarding when you manage to do
Yeah,
it.
definitely rewarding.
So kind of the idea was like, what kind of consequence can we have in our persistent universe in terms of, how do we encourage the players to stay alive? How do we encourage the players to keep their ship or repair their ship intact? We don't want people to just go, oh, I got a scratch, I'm just going to respawn in a perfectly pristine state.
Oh my God. Okay. If you're not new here, you know that I sometimes once in a while, like, I'll play with my friend Wade. Wade would get a scratch. Once we got this ship that let you, like, we had a medi, we rented a ship that had a medi bed from the expo. Wade would get a scratch, he just respawns. He doesn't even go back to the ship. He just backspaces, spawns in the ship. Why?
Stay for the character or the ship. And so Death of the Spaceman was sort of an idea to give an association with your player character in the game. In terms
And that's why my
this is
characters
who you
look
are,
like
and you
me.
want to keep
Because I want it to
yourself
be,
alive as
I want to
possible,
feel like it's me,
as much as possible, and identify with your
Exactly.
your avatar as an actual real person and character that you care about, and you want to keep alive. And then finally, when you've had one too many close calls or lost one too many battles, you no longer can be resuscitated, and you have to pass on essentially to your next of kin, which will have you call out basically who your next of kin is when you're sort of doing your character creation.
Wait. Do you mean in real life or inside the game? No. Clarify. Do you mean inside the game or in real life? Because that's crazy.
And that idea is whether it's passing it down to your son or your daughter or a relative or a friend.
Son, daughter, relative. Okay, hold on. That sounds a lot like real life. Please tell me you mean inside the game, bro.
Friend or whatever it would be, you call that out, and when that does, your possessions and reputation kind of pass down, but not all of them, right? So there's always, like there's inheritance
So
tax, and
your stuff passes on to your
there's,
friend's
the
account.
sins of the father aren't fully invested on the son, but there's a little bit of that. And so, the idea would be,
Surely
you
he
want
means in
to,
game.
live as long and help.
Nah, surely he means it. Surely this is in game. Surely he means you get your character, you make your character, and when you're making your character, you have to make a second character, like a secondary character you choose from one of those lists of friends, whatever, and that's the character that when you die too many times, they get all your stuff, bro. Because there's no way.
Healthy life as possible before you pass on to your progeny or whatever, and so that was the inspiration of Death of the Strength, to really give a sense of kind of close association with your avatar and your character, and so that was the goal. And so it was
Okay,
really
this sounds
understanding
very
how
weird.
we do that inside the game, inside our science fiction setting, which was coming up with this concept of in the future. With all the medical science we have, in states that you may consider you would be dead now, you would not be able to be brought back to life or repaired. Potentially, we could do that in the future, but maybe we could only do it so many times. So,
okay, that's reasonable.
It's a little
They can
like
save
the
you,
old
but
school
not
of,
forever,
You've got so many lives, right? And once your lives are done, the game's over.
No, wait, what does it mean the game is over? Yo, this guy's not clarifying dust. What do you mean pass it on to your son, your friend, your sister, whatever? And what do you mean by you're done, your game is over? He's giving me too many things that are trying to make me feel like this is he means in real life. There's too many things you're saying in real life.
Then maybe the more, the worse the death, you're in some big fireball. That's more serious in terms of, the lives you lose off your character than it would be if, you were down and bleeding out and someone came and got you and managed to repair you, fix you up in a medical table or a hospital. And the idea would be, you would want to, not run out of lives, and potentially there could be things you could do over time, go get some gene therapy or whatever that maybe add a life back to you or whatever. But
okay, so at least you can get some back.
In a sense here, but in general, we're trying to put it inside the fiction of the world. But the idea is to have real persistence to your avatar characters. You're going to get older.
Oh, no. I hate games when characters get older. Please don't age my character. Please don't age my character. I hate games that do that, man. Don't age my character, bro. If I wanted my character to be old at any point, I would have just made an old character, man. Just please don't age my character. I can't do that. I hate that, bro. Because it's annoying because when I play games, like, again, I make the character to look like me because I want to feel like it's me. Especially in something that's like Star Citizen where it's photorealistic, right? So if I'm making a 25-year-old character because I'm 25, I'm not going to be like 50 years old in 2 months. My character might, depending on the way the time flows in the game. I do not want, unless it's like the time is flowing like real lifetime, I do not want to be in a game playing for 2 months. Now my character is 80 years old. Nah, stop it, bro. I'm still the same age, man.
We have parts of that in the game, but it's not fully working. But that's all systems that are on the plan or we need to turn on properly because
don't turn on that. Don't turn on that aging. Don't turn on aging.
Building this, incredibly complicated, interconnected sort of simulation system, and that is actually one of the challenges of building a game the way we're building it. Sort of, people are playing it and we're building it. Death of a Spaceman is a good example because it's something that I talked about at the very beginning.
He sounds very British.
As a core concept, it's always been a core concept, but we're only just now getting around to starting to implement the actual functionality and the gameplay features that will enable it. And I think when you have it, that will make people behave very differently in the verse, which is going to be super cool.
So body dragging was the first feature that we released that
that's in the game so
gave
far.
the premise to be able to manipulate, dead bodies. But as Chris calls out, death is going to be a really important factor in Star Citizen. Now, death, there's kind of 3 deaths along the spectrum. There's kind of what we're calling like the down state. So that's kind of like when your health has gone to 0 and you're there. And when you're in that scenario, you'll be able to kind of choose to kind of stay there and be like, okay, I need my buddies to come and rescue me. I need the, law enforcement to come and help me, or maybe I've paid for some
law enforcement
insurance that rescues my body or something like that. Then there is the kind of like you've died in terms of you've given up the ghost, nobody's coming. You're like, okay, that's it. I'm leaving that body there, and I'm going to go back to a hospital. Going to be reimpregnated into essentially a clone of you, and then you'll be able.
But if
to
it's
then
okay, wait, hold on. If it's a clone, then my clone shouldn't age, right? Because if I die, 25, then my clone gets injected, then my clone should be the same age as me, right? So I shouldn't be able to age. Why not just make it clones? Like, they just clone your body, but they have to inject your DNA into the embryo or whatever, and that takes, and they have to super grow it or something. So therefore, you don't age, but you lose DNA or something.
Your location, and you'll be able to see, you know, your dead body there, and as long as nobody's been there, you'll be able to retrieve your gear and so on and so forth. And then the third aspect in terms of like you passing on to your next of kin and that kind of thing. So what we're actually evaluating now is kind of how this is integrated into kind of like the core healing gameplay and the actor status. So we already did kind of some of the actor status with, you know, temperature in terms of hypothermia,
All of those things are in the game, right?
hyperthermia, and things like, you know,
God, that means they're
starvation and
close.
things. And what we want to do now in terms of the next iteration of this is what we call like the healing and actor status T1. And what that will do is introduce, it will introduce drugs. So you'll have a blood drug
There's
level,
drugs.
you'll be able to manipulate things, but it will also introduce all the different statuses that are surrounding you as a character. So, for example, when you're in battle and you take a really bad wound to the arm, you know, you might say, okay, I've got a fracture, you know, so my arm, I've got a permanent fracture. I'd have to go back to the hospital to get it.
That happens to me all the time when I'm in a freaking dungeon or something, or I'm just, oh no, not a dungeon, it's not a freaking MMORPG, in a bunker, and I'm shooting and things, and they shoot me in the arm, and I'm trying to shoot, like, and I'm like, what's going on? The first time that happened to me, I was so spooked.
Otherwise, I'm going to start to suffer some status effects that is surrounding that. But if you keep taking damage and you keep taking more damage, that fracture might turn into, you know, a break, and then it might turn into actually coming out of your arm kind of thing. And the level of that.
Wait, limbs are going to fall off?
Will dictate the level of cover and level of healing that you need to get. Essentially, the
Bro, is this guy
material
sleeping?
that's inside the medipens, but
this guy's falling asleep.
So the medipens.
Is this guy falling asleep?
Into something that is kind of stabilizing you in the moment. You know, you'll still be able to like replenish your health, but if you've got a bleed or something like that, it'd be like a clotting agent that stops that bleed. The level of those statuses will basically go up and go up to the point of view where you're like, I can no longer function now. Okay, you're gonna have junction points where you can make a decision where you're like, should
I don't make the decision. I just
moment,
keep
like
going.
In the Arctic, you know, I'm close to the edge, but I might lose my toes.
I keep going. So I fall off the edge.
Essentially, what we're working on right now is that kind of like healing circle and that healing gameplay. You're going to go to the hospitals, and you know, when we release this, it'll be your hospitals will be live in the locations. You'll be able to go to these hospitals and almost like download your DNA matrix into the hospital database and say, okay, like if my body is unrecoverable or my friends can't get to me, then I'm gonna you know, kind of die and have to be recloned into this body. That my DNA is going to have to be re-imprinted into this shell.
Okay, I was saying that.
During that process, that's the process where your DNA can kind of fracture or kind of lose.
Yeah, you know what? That would make sense. Okay, right, because he said you can get like insurance or like law enforcement can get you. So what? Okay, because what if the thing is like your real body, your first body has 100% DNA. Then when you die, they have to come grab the DNA out of that body, which is like, I don't know, 99.9%. Then when they put it into the new body, it's now 99.8%. Then when that body dies, and next time they have to go to that body, grab that body's DNA, you have 97.9%. And when they inject it again and it keeps continuously going down, that doesn't sound too bad. That actually doesn't sound too bad.
In terms of like, you're losing a life.
Yeah, that doesn't sound too terrible.
And that is what's happening as it's being imprinted into you. And depending on like, if you've just been ignoring all of these statuses and all of your arms don't work and your legs don't work and you've got a brain bleed, you know, some of that DNA integrity as it's being injected back into your body can be re-inherited from those.
What? If you're cloning my DNA, what? Well, it's reasonable that if you have a certain no, but I have an injury. My DNA hasn't molded and replicated that injury, so my DNA shouldn't have that injury yet.
Those basically systemic statuses that you've had, and that means that you might come back in your body with a prosthetic arm, or you might come back.
Stop. You're not giving me a prosthetic arm, bro. Like, guys, Star Citizen is a game. We don't want to experience all of those hardships as well in the game, because like my heart goes out to people who have prosthetic limbs and things like that, but I feel like some people want to go into the games, some, not all, to get away from some of those things, some of those worldly issues. So imagine like you have a prosthetic arm and it's like something you're dealing with, or a leg or whatever, and you're playing a video game, and now they've made your fantasy and this fantasy world you're in now your reality again. I don't know how that's gonna be, man.
Changed, or you're not as tall as you used to be, and
bro, they're gonna knock my knees.
Gone wrong with that DNA imprinting. So that's kind of what we're working towards now in terms of that hospital healing gameplay loop. And to be honest, that's going to be a significant change in how people play the game, because when you go to the next or the third stage, where you're shedding your tear, permanent death, where you're having to pass on to your next of kin, where it is, the sins of the father, you're still going to have some of your reputational statuses, but they may not be as high as they were, because it's like, oh, your dad was part of XYZ.
Okay. It's starting to feel like they mean in the game now. Yeah, I think they're talking about all these things are gonna happen in the game, but that's not bad actually. So let's say 100% of your DNA integrity is equivalent to 150 or 200 lives, and after that you're going to get a punishment that is a bad punishment. So that's what the inheritance tax is going to be. You're getting this punishment where, yeah, you keep getting to play, but you're going to lose 20% of the money you have saved up, 20% of all your proficiencies and with all the companies you work for, and then now you have to start with a 20% deficit. That doesn't sound like a terrible thing, but it's a decent punishment to say, hey, you messed up one too many times now. Like, you're getting a 20% reduction across the board.
And that kind of loop is a really unique aspect.
Yeah, it's gonna keep you having to keep grinding
really
and
ties
grinding.
Into that, death has a real meaningful
Exactly,
consequence.
you're right,
Like
right,
in
right.
Demon Souls, the amount of times you get to the boss and you're like, you get to that 1%. When you get to the edge of that cave, and you're like, yeah, I'm just gonna go in there, and if I find something in there that's not friendly to me, then what, I'll just respawn. No,
Yeah, that's
now
me.
it's gonna be like, well, if I respawn, what happens to my ship? Am I going to lose my gear? I'm going to have to come back to it, because obviously physical inventory ties into it. And then, oh, will I lose some of my DNA integrity? And how's that? And all of a sudden, it changes
the way you
the
think
choices
about things,
you make
right? Yeah.
along the journey that you're going on.
Doing is that we're not going to be despawning player bodies anymore. So when you die, the body that's there and all the equipment will stay there. So if you
there has to be a time limit on that. There honestly has to be a time limit, because you need to understand that having all these things persist in the universe is going to put load on the server. So you want to have a 3-4 hour window where people can do that, because if people are dying consistently and things, and you're not despawning their bodies, that adds to things. If people's ships are out there not despawning, that adds to things. So you have to despawn bodies and player vehicles. I think that's a thing where you give them a certain amount of hours, be it 3-4 hours, and then after that they have to go, or they're just gonna be bothering the freaking servers for no reason.
Essentially go back to where you died and recover some of your stuff and see the skeleton of your previous incarnation. But the other thing I would say is that the cost of sort of the new life, basically, and you're only going to have so many of these because they degrade, is much more than getting rescued or having someone come and grab you and fix you up. So there will also be an economic
more gameplay for people to come and help.
To essentially not just go, oh yeah, I'm just going to be a medic, because A, you're only going to get a very limited number of those, and B, they're going to be very expensive. So you would prefer to have other players or your friends,
right,
or a service come and get you and fix you up. Right. I think in terms of gameplay, things like finally getting around to the full sort of health, death of a spaceman setup and the physical inventory. The gameplay potential and just what's going to happen and the interplay with players is it's going
to add a lot with playing with other people and
all this
systems to work with
all together to do this at this level of detail. And I personally, I just think I'm super excited to have these come together. I mean, we talked about them for a long time. Obviously, it's taken a while, but that's because we're building something incredibly high fidelity with all this detail, but with all this scope. But it really will change a lot of the gameplay mechanics, a lot of how people are playing the game right now.
All of that is tying into the bigger picture of what we want to achieve. And that core gameplay loop of, I'm not just stepping into my ship and flying into space and I could just open my PMA and just have access to everything I want. And, there's no consequence. There's no feeling of that you're in the world because of, you have this access to this infinite bag of holding.
When I'm leaving out for my daily activities in the game, I get my backpack. If my ship has a locker, I put some stuff in there. I put food, a spare set of gear, or whatever I think I'll need. And then I don't have this infinite storage. I can just walk around naked and still have an infinite storage. Most games I play, even if you have no armor on, no clothes, you still have an inventory. And it's like, how? How do I have an inventory when I have nothing on me? So I feel like it's a little bit refreshing to be like, I actually have to think before I go out.
how much storage I have and how much, what I have access to inside those ships. Do I have a kitchen that provides me food and drink? Do I have a medical bay? Am I got room to take a buddy?
Okay, wait, saying that, do I have enough food in my ship? Yeah, you can put food in your ship, but I think that they have to add a way, or maybe there is and I just don't know about it, where it's like all those food supplies you can steal, well, you can find or take from like ships you find. There has to be a way to like inject that food into your like things, because when I was at the IAE Expo, a lot of the bigger ships, they had kitchens. So it's like, I should be able to inject that food supplies into my ship. Those kitchens should produce some sort of food where you can go to like get a freaking, I don't know, sludge or whatever out of the machine and you can eat that. Or you can get like a drink, water or whatever. I feel like your kitchens should produce those things.
But the goal with Star Citizen is to, essentially it's a virtual life. I mean, and we are trying to simulate, or obviously in a more primitive state than the real world, but simulate all the things that would happen.
I get the sentiment, but you have to kind of have it a little bit removed from reality, because, well, for people like me, I most of the time go on these games to get away from reality, because reality sometimes is stressing. Especially I'm like 25, I just became an adult really for the past few years, and I have to deal with all these adult real world stuff, and sometimes it gets overwhelming to the point where it's like, damn, I need a break from this, and I go into a game to get away from this. So there has to be some things where you kind of remove it, like it's more or less the pressures of the real world. If we can remove the pressures and like keep them away from the game, that's good. But when you start adding the pressures, like even the tax kind of thing, like when you die over like a bunch of times and you have to get that, yeah, that's more of a punishment for dying so much. But when you have to take away some of those real things and those pressures that the world really puts on you when you're trying to make a game,
We see the Matrix. We just haven't built all the elements of the Matrix yet. But we know it's coming together, and when it's done, it'll be like this amazing simulation. And our only frustration is because it's not like me and Richard are like, oh yeah, guys, take longer. It's like me and Richard and Todd and everyone else are like, is it really going to take you that long to do that? Are you sure you can't do that?
You should be like that. I think when a game is in development, especially where like it's in development but we can still play it, I feel like you give this is like where the only one of the rare times where you give them more leeway. When you have a game that's like, oh, this is a complete game, and then they want to do new things and it's taking them forever and they keep promoting and postponing, then it's like a problem, because that's a finished game. You should have all these things. You're doing nothing else but keeping the game running and creating something new. But when it's like the game is unfinished, we know it's unfinished, they're still creating new things and they're still creating the current things. I think this is where we can give them more leeway, because the worst thing for any dev or any game that's in progression or even finished games is being rushed. When they're rushed, things fall apart, things don't work. So I just think we might, as a gaming community, we might just have to start giving them a little bit more time,
Half the time. So we're always on their case. So I know everyone out there is on our cases, but it's sort of like we're on the other way around. But some of this stuff just takes time to build it, to test it, and also to do it when you're doing it in a live game, right? Because we are building in a live game, so you can't just break everything by
exactly right. If they drop something new, everything else breaks.
Work as well. But to be honest with you, it's actually a fun way to do it, because a lot of how we're doing it also informs our development as we go along. Because we've got our big plans, but some of the feedback we get helps tweak how things are coming in or what areas we'll address.
But yeah, that was a lot of information, but I don't know, are you guys in support or against the death of a spaceman? Because I feel like it's reasonable, but there's a limit to how strict they can be in terms of, number one, how many times can a singular character die? I feel like that number should be in the 100s or 200s at minimum. It should be around that, or even higher, to be honest, because number one, look guys, most of my deaths, sometimes it's because I can't do anything about it. It's sometimes bugs. And if bugs are taking away and taking those lives of yours, that's going to be an issue. That's going to be a problem. If my character has to get a new character because my current character died because of freaking bugs took away 50 or 60 of my lives, that's an issue. And I feel like they have to have a real solid way that obviously make it hard, where you can get some of that like percentages back on the fidelity of your DNA. Even if it's a thing where it's like, okay, you died out there, but you are a player who's willing to go the extra mile to go get your body and go to a very hard place to get your body. Or even let's say it's in another star system. Most players will be like, oh, that's gonna take me 20, 30 minutes. I don't have that time. I'm just gonna like lose that fidelity of my DNA. But some players are gonna be like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna travel all the way back to another star system, go back to where I died and got my body. And now you have to like like go with a gun and suck some of that DNA out and then go hand it into a insurance company or the hospital, and then they're gonna use it and mold it back into your DNA strand. So now you've gone from 91% back to 95% because you did that extra work to get your DNA back up. Somewhat of a system like that helps you prolong that character's life. And the aging thing, I don't agree with it at all. I do not like games that age my character. There's no time in the world where I'll ever like a game that ages my character, so I can't just agree with that. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Are you in support of it or you're against it? I don't think it's that bad. I just feel like there's a few things that you have to like set out that make it a fair thing and a fair experience. But yeah, don't forget, if you like my reaction, if you like my opinions, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.